welcome to our second class. So our first class we looked at computer, quadratic equation, and we also looked at sets and matrix. So in this video now, we are going to conclude the remaining 19 marks, how you can get the remaining 19 marks. So don't forget that geometric progression for paper 2 has a lot of marks, so make sure you solve this question, then simplify and express. We know that this is free 5 marks. When you have simplified, you know how to simplify. Then probability is also another important topic. So to begin our class today, don't forget to subscribe, comment and share the video to your friends who may be writing tomorrow. So before you watch this part 2 video, make sure you watch the part 1 video where I explained how you can go about it, writing a pseudocode, quadratic equation, sets and matrix. So to begin our lesson today, we are going to start with the geometric progression because it has a lot of marks. So we have here with us our question, which is saying, in a geometric progression, the second term is 21, the fourth term is 189. Calculate the first term and the common ratio. So it's 3 marks. So how can you calculate the first term and the common ratio? So first you need to understand the formula. So paper 1 you wrote your AP. Here you have to write your geometric progression. That's how they have put it. So now how can we find the first term and the common ratio? So the question is saying we have the second term. So let's write. So our second term is 21 and our fourth term is what? 189. So that's the first step. So we have written our first term and our second term. So here our goal is to calculate what? The first term and what? The common ratio, which is represented by R. So now let's talk about the formula. For those of you who are watching this video for the first time, or for those of you who are revising for the first time. So we say that the formula for GP is A R n minus 1, where we said A represents the first term, R represents the common ratio, which is the difference between the numbers. Then N, we said it's the position at which the term you want to find is. For example, if you are looking for the second term, N is 2. If you are looking for the third term, N is 3. So now how can we find the first term and the common ratio? So remember, here we are calculating two things. So meaning we are supposed to make an equation. So how can you make an equation? So you write the way it is. So you ask yourself, how do I calculate the second term? So I calculate the second term by using what? This formula. So now you start replacing in the formula. So you say my second term is equals to A, I don't know, R, I don't know. But you know that this term you are looking for is where? Second term. So meaning our N will be 2 minus 1. So what is 2 minus 1? It's 1. Then what is our second term? So we have been given our second term, which is 21. So you say 21 is equals to A R. So we have made our first equation. So this is our first equation. So since if you look at this equation, we cannot do anything apart from leaving it the way it is. So now you ask yourself again, how am I going to solve A and R? because this equation has ended. You move on to the second one. How do I calculate the fourth term? So the same way we calculated the first term is the same way we are going to calculate the fourth term. We are going to say the formula, which is ARN minus 1. Then we are talking about the fourth term. So we say T4 is equals to AR. What's the value of N? The position. So we are going to say 4 minus 1. Then what is our fourth term? Our fourth term is 189. So we have 189. Then we have A. Then we have R. Then we have 3. So this is how you can calculate the first term. So now here we have what? 2 equations. So here we have 2 equations. And the way we calculate now here is where you need to pay particular attention. So the first thing we are going to calculate is the common ratio. How do we calculate the common ratio? So we calculate the common ratio by dividing. So we calculate the common ratio by doing what? By dividing. For example, the formula for common ratio is, if you have a second term, you divide it with the first term. Again, or if you have a third term, you can divide it with a second term. So in a similar way, we are going to divide the fourth term with what? With the first term. Everything here, we are going to divide it with everything here. So we are going to say 189 divided by what? 21 is equals to A divided by A, R divided by R to the power 3. Yeah. So now once you do like this, there are things which will cancel each other. Like we have what? A will cancel with A. Then R will also cancel with R to the power 3. Because remember I said whenever you have R to the power 3, it means the same as multiplying 3 R's. So meaning you just cancel 1. So here you remain with R squared. Then you divide 189 divided by 21. So this is paper 2. You are allowed to use the calculator. So you say 189 divided by 21. We are getting 9 as our answer. So here we have 9. Then here we have R squared. What is the square root of R? Is R. What is the square root of 9? 3. So that's how simple you can solve the value for R. We have calculated the common ratio. Simple as drinking water. So moving on now to calculating the first term. So how can you calculate now the first term? So since you have the R, it is easy for you to calculate the first term. How? You can pick any equation you want. You can pick this one or you can pick this one. So for me, since I don't have time in the exam, I will go with the simple one which I can solve fast. So in paper 2, try to find ways in which you can solve a question faster. Because if you waste time on one question, it will affect the next question. So we are going to pick 21. So we are going to say 21 is equals to A R. What is our value for R? 3. So we are going to say 21 is equals to A multiplied by 3. Then we divide by 3, we divide by 3, giving our A to be 3 into 21, we have 7. So our first term therefore is what? 7. And our common ratio is 3. Then you can conclude. Therefore, A is equals to 7 and r is equals to what? 3. Meaning you have solved the first term and the common difference. So this question is simple and it carries a lot of marks. Once you do this, meaning you have gotten your first 3 marks. Moving on to part B. So part B was asking us to do what? So part B was asking us to calculate the 60th term. So now they want us to calculate the what? The 60th term. So how can we calculate the 60th term? So remember, we have already found the what? The common ratio and the first term. The two things which we need to calculate any term in a geometric progression. So now how can you calculate it? So I have here part 2. So the first thing is writing the formula. So I have Tn is equals to A R n minus 1. So what is our first term? Our first term is 7. What is our R? Our R is 3. Then what term are we calculating? We are calculating the 60th term. So n will be 6. So you say 6 minus 1. Then you say the 60th term. So don't make a mistake of multiplying. You're saying that no, this is BODMAS. No, don't multiply. Leave it the way it is. So you say times 3. 6 minus 1, 5. Again here, don't multiply 7 times 3. Don't. First find the value of 3 to the power 5. So what is 3 to the power 5? We have 243. So now you can multiply. So you say 7 multiplied by 243. What's our answer? 1701 as your answer. So this is how simple you get your 2 marks, just like that. So meaning solving question 1 and 2, you have already 5 marks in paper 2. So it's about the strategy on how you approach questions in paper 2. So moving on to question 3, which is asking us to find what? The sum of the first 5 terms. So there is a rule which you have to follow when choosing the formula to use for finding the sum of what? Of a geometric progression. So if you check your cover, there are 2 formulas. So one formula is like this. Okay. So there are 2 formulas which you need to pay particular attention whenever you are attempting a GP. So the first one is sum, which is A open brackets r to the power n minus 1 over r minus 1. So you only use this formula, I repeat, you only use this formula whenever your r is greater than 1. So if you find your common ratio to be greater than 1, make sure you use this formula to find your sum of any term. Then if your r is less than 1, you use this formula. When r is less than 1. Yeah, so don't worry, these formulas they give at the cover page of your paper. So what you need to understand is which formula now you're supposed to apply to your question. So in our case, since we found that our common ratio is 3, meaning it is greater than 1, so we are going to go with the first equation. So we are going to say the sum of 5 terms is equals to, what is the first term? 7. What is our common ratio? 3. What is n? n is the position, which is 5 minus 1. Then here we have 3 minus 1. Then on top we have 7. 3 to the power 5, we have 3 to the power 5, we have 243 minus 1 divided by 2. So 243 minus 1 is 242. 7 times 242 divided by 2. Yeah. So if it was paper 1, you can just say 2 here 1, 2 here 1, 2 here 2, 2 here 1. So you have what? 7 times 121, which is 7 times 121, which gives us 847 as our sum of the first 5 terms. So this is how you can get your 7 marks. This is 2, this is 3, this is 2. So remember, always the first question on geometric progression will always carry 3 marks. So make sure you know how questions come. So now moving on to our second example. So our second example is here. So our second example is saying it came in 2022. Yeah, you can check for GCE. Yeah. So the question is saying the first 3 terms of a geometric progression are 3w minus 2, 3w plus 6, 3w plus 30. So they are telling us that these are the 3 first terms. So coordinate geometry can also surprise you and come like this. So that's why it is important for you to be going through past papers so that you know how questions come on a certain topic, because they don't just repeat question, they change how they ask you to see if you understand the concept, not memorizing the answer. So here you need to understand the concept. What is the concept? The concept I've told you. Whenever you are calculating something involving the common ratio, you should be dividing the second term with the first term, or the last term with the first term. As long as it is involving the common ratio, you have to calculate it by division. Yeah. So in our case, for us to find W, of course it is involving what? The common ratio. So we are going to use the formula for finding the common ratio to find the value of W. So how can we do that? So we can do it by this way. Yeah. So what is our first step? So they have told us the first 3 terms. So meaning our first 3 terms are, we have what? 3, we have 3w minus 2, 3w plus 6, 3w plus 30. So this is our first 3 terms, and our first question is requiring us to calculate the value of w. So remember I told you, anything which has to involve calculating something, let's say the first term, the common ratio, or w in our case, divide the second term divided by the first term, the third term divided by the second term. So we are going to use the what? The rule. So you say this is term 1, because they have told us that these are our first what? 3 terms. So we are going to say C1, C2, C3. Then we are going to say what is the formula for finding the common ratio? T2 divided by T1. So the formula is, so we are going to say T2 divided by T1 is equals to T3 divided by what? T2. Why have we said it like this? Because we cannot just say T1 minus T2. I mean T1 divided by T1, because we have 3 terms which have the letter Y. So we are going to make sure all the 3 terms are in this equation, so that we can try and come up with a simple equation to help us find the value of W. Yeah. So after writing like this, the next step now is to do what? To replace now. So we have our second term, which is 3. So I'm going to say 3W minus 2 over what? Oh, we're going to say 3W plus 6, sorry. Since 6 is our second term. So I'm going to say 3 plus 6 divided by, what is our first term? 3W minus 2. Then equals, what is our third term? 3W plus 30. What is our second term? 3W plus 6. So now after doing like this, you can do what? You can closely multiply. So you can say everything here will multiply everything here. So you say 3W multiplied by 3W plus 6 plus 6 multiplied by what? Everything here, which is 3W plus 6. So due to some space, this side I'll write it here. Then you say now whatever is here should multiply with everything here. So I'm going to say 3W plus 30 minus 2 3W plus 30. Yeah. So once you do like this, meaning you are one step closer to finding your value of W. Remember, the first question is 3 marks. You have to read the question carefully and solve it. Because why is this question important? So the way geometric progression is, once you mess up the first question, meaning your second question will be wrong, even your third question will be wrong, meaning you have lost your entire 7 marks just by a mistake which you made on the first question. So now here the step is simple on expanding. So you just multiply everything with whatever is inside the bracket. So you say 3W times 3W have 9W squared. Then you say plus 3W times 30. So you say 3 times 30 is what? 90. Then W times 30 we have W. Then you come to 2. Negative 2 times 3 we have negative 6W. Negative 2 times 30 we have negative what? 60. Yeah, equals 3W times 3W have 9W squared. 3W times 6 we have 18W plus 6 times 3 we have 18W plus 6 times 6 36. Yeah. So once we reach here, we have done what? We have expanded. After expanding, the next step is doing what? Grouping the right terms. So now you need to group the right terms. So how can you group the right terms? Start with what? As squared. So the first thing which are squared is 9 squared. So you're going to say 9W squared minus, since this is positive, if it crosses the sign, it becomes what? Negative 9W. So here you say negative 9W squared. Then you move on now to numbers which only have W. So we have plus 90W minus 6W Then you come to the other side. What do we have? We have 18W. So since 18 is positive on this side, once it crosses, it becomes negative 18W. Then the next thing is what? Negative 18W again. So if it crosses the sign, it becomes what? Negative 18W. Then you say equals. So here on the other side, you are going to leave the numbers. So this is where now the numbers will come into play. So what are the numbers which are remaining? The only numbers which are remaining is negative 60 and 36. So since 36 is already on this side, we are just going to copy it the way it is. But since this negative 60 is on the other side, we are going to say once it crosses, it becomes positive 60. Then here, the next step is just doing what? Punching on the calculator. So you say 9W, since this is positive and this is negative, so this will cancel each other. So here a trick I'll tell you, here always numbers will cancel each other whenever you get a question like this. Then now you add. So a simple trick for you when you are adding numbers with letters, just add the numbers, then you pick one letter. For example, you have 90 minus 6 minus 18 minus 18. We have what? 48. So we are going to say 48W is equals to 36 plus 60. 36 plus 60, we have 96. Then we divide by 48, we divide by 48, giving our W to be 2. Meaning you have gotten your 3 marks. So the first question is quite tricky, but it is simple once you apply the rule. So what is the concept you need to understand here for both questions? So these questions, you can see they are quite similar. They are requiring us to do what? To calculate the common ratio and the first term like this. So whenever you are calculating concerning the first term and the common ratio, what you should do is, the first thing is make an equation. So as we did, so the equation you make may differ depending on the type of question. Yeah, but the paramount goal is division when you start multiplying. Remember the first question we divided after reaching where? The point for cancelling. So even here you divide. Yeah. So the next question, which is find the nth term. So the second question was quite simple. The nth term. So how can you find the nth term? So the nth term is basically the formula which they want. So now how can you calculate the formula? So before calculating the formula, first you need to find out the meaning of these numbers. 3W, 3W, 3W. Since we know the value of what? Of W, we are going to say our first term therefore is what? 3 multiplied by 2 minus 2, comma, 3 multiplied by 2 plus 6, comma, 3W plus 30. So what is 3 times 2? 6. 6 minus 2, 4, comma, 3 times 2, 6. 6 plus 6, 12, comma, 3 times 2, 6. 6 plus 30, we have 36. So these were our numbers, or these are the numbers which they gave us. So we want to find what? The nth term. So the nth term is the formula which we are supposed to use. How do we find the formula? So remember the formula for GP. Tn is equals to A R n minus 1. Yeah. So since here we are only interested in finding out the formula, we don't know the term, so n will remain n. We don't replace n. So now you're asking yourself, what are we doing then? So here, the reason you have done all this is just to calculate one value, which is the common ratio. So how do you calculate the common ratio? You divide the second term with the first term. So you say 12 divided by 4, which gives us 3. So our common ratio is 3. So if we have our common ratio 3 and we also have our first term, we are going to solve. So we are going to say our first term is 4 multiplied by our common ratio, which is 3 to the power n minus 1, meaning you are done. You have given them the formula which they are going to use. That's why they say the nth term. So the position is n. Moving on to our final question, which is the sum of the first 4 terms. So here we are going to find the sum of the first 4 terms. Again, I told you, you have to know if the common ratio is greater than 1 or less than 1. So in our case, we have 3, which is greater than 1. So since 3 is greater than 1, we are going to say that the formula to use is what? This one. The sum is equals to a Rn minus 1 over R minus 1. So the reason we don't use the other one, you see, to give you negative instead of positive. So be specific and remember, always when R is greater than 1, use this. R is less than 1, use the other one. So what is our A? Our A is 4. What is our R? Our R is 3. What is our N? Our N, we are calculating the sum of the 4 terms. So you say 3 to the power 4 minus 1 divided by 3 minus 1. So here it will give us 4. 3 to the power 4. You have a calculator. Don't feel lazy using it. So we have 3 to the power 4, which is 81 minus 1, giving us 80, divided by 2. So 2 here, 1, 2 here, 2. So 2 times 8, we have 160 as our sum. Meaning you have gotten your 7 marks. Simple as that. Yeah. So since we have covered now the most important topic in paper 2, which you need to solve, you make sure you solve coordinate geometric progression if you want to pass, because it has 7 marks. Yeah. Then, since we have covered geometric progression and simplify and explain, these are quite simple topic. So moving on to our last topic for revision, which is probability. How can you solve a probability equation when it comes in paper 2? Yeah. So I have 2 examples with us of how probability equations come in paper 2. So probability equations, remember, they are what? They are 5 marks. So you need to also make sure you get this question correct, because this question is simple. Probability is one of the simplest question, because the first question you have to draw the tree diagram, which is 3 marks. Then you find the probability. That's how simple it is. So maths paper 2, you can get everything. Yeah. So let's start with our first question. So our first question is saying a girl has 7 green apples and 6 red apples. She picks 1 apple at random from the bag and eats it. She picks another apple and eats it. Draw a tree diagram to illustrate all possible outcomes. So here is where most students get confused. So what do we mean when we say a tree diagram? So a tree diagram is something that represents the outcome, how things are going. So imagine the girl. she had what? If we add the apples together, we can see that the girl had 13 apples. Now imagine she picks one apple and she eats it. Meaning from the 13 apples, you are remaining with what? So this is the first box, that's 13 apples. After eating one, the box has now 12 apples. So why am I telling you this? Because a tree diagram illustrates the possible outcome. So the first thing you need to know is ask yourself how many outcomes. So in our case, we only have what? 2. Because she first picked one apple. After eating it, again she picked another. So meaning she only did how many? 2 events, picking the apple twice without replacing it. So meaning the apples reduced. Yeah. So you need to understand this before we start drawing a tree diagram. Yeah. So now moving on to drawing the tree diagram. So the first step to draw the tree diagram is add all the outcomes. Add all the outcomes. So this question was simple, only add 2 outcomes. But in some cases, you can have 3, 4. But for paper 2, they only bring 2. But if you are... but the concept applies. So if you know the concept, you can solve the question. Yeah. So we are going to say the girl had what? 7 green apples. And she has 6 red. So we are going to add. So the total was 13 apples. Yeah. So remember, this was in her first pick when she didn't pick any apple. So even us, we are going to follow the exact same thing. So we are going to say first pick. So she picked first. So if she only had the opportunity of picking once, what could have been the probability? So you draw. So this is the first pick. So we only have 2 options. So you need to follow. So you only have what? 2 options, green and red. So you say green and red. Yeah. So if she picked green, what could have been the probability? Remember, we said that how we calculate the probability is the total number of outcomes should be the denominator. Then you say that probability of that event happening over the what? The total outcome. Yeah. So in our case, if you look here, what is the probability of picking a green apple out of 13? So it is what? How many green apples are there? We have 7. So it says 7 out of 13. Then you come to reds. What are the chances of picking red apples if she had 13 apples? So the chances is 6 because there are 6 red apples in the box. So it says 6 out of 13. Yeah. Then she didn't stop here. She picked another apple. So meaning you are going to say second pick. So in second pick, that's where the probability increases. Why am I saying so? So imagine if in the first pick she ate a green apple. Then in the second pick, she has 2 options. She can either pick a green apple or she can either pick a what? A red apple. So here you say, after maybe if she ate, we say she ate a green apple first. In the second one, she can pick what? A green again or a red. Again, if she ate a red apple, she can do the same. Pick a green or red apple. So now how do we write the outcomes? So remember now this point I told you. So since in the first pick she ate already 1 apple, so meaning here the total has changed. So here the total won't be 13, but it will be 12 because she ate one apple. And we are not changing 7 and 6 because we don't know the apple she ate. It's probability. You are picking at random. You can pick any apple. So that's why here we are going to, it's only going to affect the total outcome, not the actual what? Yeah. So how many green apples do we have? So if in the first, let's say she picked green, right? So meaning if she picked green, how many green apples will remain in the second pick? So there were 7 apples, meaning in the second pick we have what? 6 green apples, because in the first she ate 1, meaning there remained 6 out of what? 12. So even the total reduced. But now ask yourself, what if she ate a green apple in the first, then in the second she ate a red? So meaning red won't change. So here red won't be affected. So a trick which you can use here in case of time, just know that if you have green, here only green will be affected, red won't be affected. So you just say 6/12. Then when you come to red, remember green won't be affected because she ate a red apple. So you just say 7/12. Then here you say 6/12. And for you to know that these entries are correct, when you add this and this, supposed to give you 1. This and this supposed to give you 1. This and this supposed to give you 1. Then finally you write what? All the possible outcomes. So we have green, green, we have green, red, we have red, green, and we also have red, red. So once you do like this, meaning you have drawn your 3 marks tree diagram. So a tree diagram is quite simple. Yeah. So let's again try to solve the question 2 before moving on to the next question. So the second question is saying a bag contains 9 identical cards, 4 of which are kuhanjika, represented by K cards. The second, we have 3 which are landa cards, and lastly we have vulela, which is B. 2 cards are selected at random from the bag, one after another, and not replaced. So it's the same principle. So here they will always say a card, an apple, a dice is picked without being replaced. The concept is the same. I repeat, the concept is the same. Once you understand the concept, no question will be what? Will be difficult. So again, you say now what? How many identical cards are in the bag? We have 9. So here the total they already gave us. So now ask yourself, so in an exam, every time you see a question, try to ask yourself, why is this question like this? So you solved a previous question which was like this. They didn't give you the total. You are finding the total. So here ask yourself, why do they give me the total? Or why have they given me the total? Meaning there is one which you're supposed to calculate. They can't give you the total for nothing. So the bag contains what? 9. So we are saying the total is 9. Then since the total is 9, out of 9 we have 4 which represents what? Kuanjika. So 4 we just say Kuanjika, which is represented by K. Then 3 cards represents what? Landa, which is L. Then we have the list, which represents what? Vulela, which is B. We don't know, But remember, we have the total. So add 4 plus 3 is 7. 9 minus 7, we have what? 2. So the 2 are what? Are Bulela. That's the first step. So always try to ask yourself, why is this question like this? Why is this question different from the one I solved? If you ask that question, you will instantly know where you are supposed to apply the concept. So now this is different. I told you you can have 3, you can have 2. Yeah. So in your exam tomorrow, they might bring 3 or 2. So lucky for you, if you watch this video, you won't get this question wrong. Already here we are flying with marks. Yeah. So the first step again, we have 3 possible outcomes. And how many picks? 2. The question is saying 2 cards were selected at random from the bag, one after the other. So this one is going to be a long tree diagram because we have 3. So you say again, first pick. So our first pick will have 3 like this. We have kuandika, we have landa, and we have bulela. Yeah. Then kanjika. So what's the probability of picking a kanjika card out of 9 cards? Of course it's 4 out of 9 because there are 4 cards. How can you pick 5 if you have 4? So it's 4 out of 9 cards. The probability of picking landa is 3 out of 9 because there are 3 landa cards. The probability of picking bulela is 2 out of 9 because there are 2 bulela cards. Then moving on to your second pick. Yeah. So again, so the second pick here, you are just what? Writing the same. But now on each probability. So you start with Kwanjika. So you say, if this guy picked Kwanjika in his first pick, what is the probability of picking the rest in the second? Again, if he picked this one, what is the probability? If he picked this one, what is the probability of picking Kanjika, Landa, Bulela? Kanjika, Landa, and Bulela. Again, you have Kanjika, Landa, and Bulela. So the more probability or the more outcome you have, the more the question will be a little bit bigger. So now here, I said, if you have K Kanjika, meaning what should be affected is this one. So here you say 3 over 8, not 9, because you picked one card. Then the rest you just copy the way it is. Here we have 3 over 8. Here we have 2 over 8. This is how probability is simple. This is a trick I'm showing you in case you run out of time. Then you come to lambda. Lambda is 3 out of 9. If I remove 1, I'll have 2 out of 8. Then the rest you pick up the way they are. We have 4 over 8. Here we have 2 over 8. Then you come to Bulela. Bulela, how many did we have first? 2 over 9. Here we have 1 over 8. This won't change. 3 over 8. This won't change. 4 over 8. Yeah, so once you do like this, meaning you have shown the possible outcomes, you have gotten your 3 marks. Moving on to our part B questions, which I'll solve together. Yeah, then we end this session. So hope you have benefited from this session and you will be able to get some marks in paper 2. So now, moving on to the final question. The final question was saying, what is the probability that the first apple eaten was green? What is the probability that the first apple eaten was green? So this question was simple. I don't know or I don't know why they brought it like this. They are asking you, what is the probability? So this question is simple, just pick this one. Because this is the probability of eating the first apple. Yeah. So it just say the probability of eating the first apple being green is 7/13. That's all. No need of struggling with no this and this, no. But moving on to our next question here. So here they're asking us, what is the probability that both cards selected are of the same type? What is the probability of both cards selected being of the same type? So meaning you go where you have same type. So what are the same types? So we have K. So you say probability of picking K, or what is the other probability? L, or what is the other probability? B,